Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today we're going to be playing some Silver Age Lexi. I put out a poll in our Discord a couple days ago asking like what videos we should do for next week because I'm recording these videos in advance. And I think that one of the more popular suggestions was basically to do a Silver Age Lexi deck. So that's what we're going to be doing here. And instead of going out of my way to like brew like a brand new Lexi deck or whatever, I basically just took this from the Silver Age kind of like spotlight articles from like the Fab TCG website, which I encourage you all to read if you haven't like read these before. This article also goes over like sideboard notes, other kind of stuff. So I think we're basically just going to use this exact list, play some games with it, kind of see how it performs. The one thing that I do think is like missing from some of these articles, like I wish there was like kind of like gameplay video, but obviously like the format, can include gameplay. But that's what I'm here for. So we're going to go ahead and try to pilot this deck. Now, this deck is really interesting to me because I think it kind of gives me a lot of the same kind of vibes as Zen, where you're trying to do like a bunch of weird things to like transcend and like get your go again and like go through a bunch of hoops to like kind of like make your turn kind of like actually work. And Lexi kind of gives you like very similar vibes. So you have like a kind of like mishmash of different sources of like go again, different sources of like fusing, different sources of just like reloading arrows. Like there's a lot of like actual complexity into like how to like sequence a lot of the stuff, which I'm probably going to end up messing up at some point in the video. But I think that there's a lot of really cool just like sequencing and like decision points that make this deck really interesting to me. So we're going to basically just be using the exact same list that Yuki posted, no alterations or anything. And I've also just added the sideboard notes here. So again, if you want to play this list, I'll probably just include a link to this on Fabry, so it's a little bit cleaner to look at. But again, you can also just copy this from the Fab TCG article, which I think also is very, very helpful. But anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and play some Silver Age Lexi. I'm sure that I might end up missequencing some stuff, but I think this deck is actually kind of like a lot of fun. I practiced a little bit beforehand, so it should be good. But yeah, let's go ahead and get some games. All right. Playing against Vynnset. So what do we want against Vynnset? They are pretty red lines, so I can see the Arctics being like kind of reasonable. See if there's anything that you mentioned, I guess, of like Rune Blades or anything. Particularly, I think we could maybe try to get away with the Arctics though against Vynnset because they are generally quite red line. And then let's maybe try like the 2 Winter's Bites, and then maybe I'm torn between like the Laces, the Skizzics, and the Polarities. Let's go ahead and just run the Laces, I think. Let's try this. Again, no real sideboard for like every single hero, but I think this is like a pretty reasonable set of cards in a Vynnset, I think. It looks like they're going to just start off with the Deathly Whale. This is a blue Deathly, so it's not as much damage. And Hope Merchant's Hood in Vynnset is also fascinating. Maybe just trying to dig for, or like trying to get rid of like some of those like kind of crappy Vynnset hands. Totally possible. Let's go ahead and just pay into this because I don't want them to like keep making hands here. So let's go ahead and keep, I guess, what card do we want in the deck most? Probably Lightning Surge. We can go and just block with the others. But very, very good for us that they weren't able to like activate Vynnset to force through the Rune Chants here. So overall, I think I'm pretty happy with this start from them. We didn't leak any damage. They don't have any setup other than like the Deathly and Vanish, but I think we're overall, I think, pretty happy with that. Okay, so interesting. So we don't really currently have a lightning card, which makes that a little bit awkward. So let's go ahead and maybe just load the Bolt and Shot here, which we will be able to like give go again with the Lace. It's either that or the Swift Shot, but I think Bolt and Shot maybe is a little bit better. Then let's go and Lace, Bolt and Shot, and then finish on a Winter's Bite, Arsenal, Swift Shot. Swift Shot is kind of awkward in Arsenal though. It looks like they'll go ahead and just give us the Phantom here, which means we're going to get to reload, which is actually kind of nice. So we get to connect with the Blood Rot. I think I'm just going to go ahead and cash in the Swift Shot because I know I've played a little bit of Lexi, and I know that sometimes this card can definitely be a bit awkward. Like you have to put it face up into your arsenal instead of like turning it face up to get the go again, which is definitely a bit awkward. Let's go ahead and see what they do, I guess, with the Spite here. Kind of curious. Oh, did we actually have the opportunity to reload the Winter Spite? Hold on, what does Bolt and Shot say? If you have no cards, you have a card. Okay, so you could technically have loaded the Winter's Bite, flipped it face up with Lexi, and then like Arsenal the Swift Shot to end it on. But I think here I'm just gonna try to cash in the 4 damage. Again, some of the play patterns of this deck are a little bit tough, especially if you haven't played a ton of this deck. So maybe I'm not supposed to switch out there, but it seems like somewhat reasonable, at least to me. All right, so we do need to be careful not to get like fatigued here. That being said, the Vynnset currently doesn't have any setup, which is really nice for us. And what is going to be the play this turn? I assume what we're probably supposed to be doing is just starting with the Frazzle here, but the only awkward part is that we go again. It's a little bit tight here. Another option is we could like Bullseye load something in, but then we're getting rid of our 8B, which is not super effective anyways. Maybe actually what we're supposed to be doing is like pitching the Frazzle Snapshot here. That would require us to use the Blossom though. I guess the question is like, are we okay with that? Maybe. Let's go ahead and use the Blossom then. So we'll Death Dealer, load in these snapshots. Right, Flittering is interesting, but not super helpful. And we'll go ahead and just snapshot showing the Flittering here. The thing I like the most about this deck is that a lot of the hands do feel like little mini kind of puzzles, I guess, that you kind of have to like figure out like what the best thing to do is. I always like decks that are kind of like that. So now we're just gonna, I think, load the Bolton Shot here. All right, find another snapshot, which is fine, but not super helpful here. Little bit of an awkward hand, I'd have to say. It's not the worst thing in the world though. You can go and just play another Bolton Shot. I feel like there was a world where maybe you're supposed to like Bullseye on the Bolton Shot just to like give it the +1. Maybe that like kind of unbricks this hand. Because yeah, like leaving off with like 2 extra cards in hands feels bad. Like maybe we're supposed to like just end up giving more armor there. And then I think here let's go and just Arsenal the Electrify. We'll see what they're able to actually kind of string together here. Looks like maybe it's just a red Deathly, but this shouldn't be incredibly disruptive, at least is the nice part. Looks like this is basically just vanilla damage with obviously the rune chance on the back. So kind of looking still like we're in a decent spot. Again, 10 to 20, it's still not bad, but I think we definitely could have capitalized maybe a little bit more on that last hand. Right, so again, life totals have now evened out, but they still do have some blood debt that they have to figure out how to cash in. So we're not in terrible shape. And we do, again, have like the 2 rune chance there. Hopefully, what I'm hoping is the Arctic will kind of be a little bit annoying this hand, but we'll try to make them, I guess, try to disrupt them a little bit so they can't play that Deathly. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the Electrify. I actually really like this card a lot, especially in like the less like red line Lexi decks. Just seems like very strong. So the awkward part on this hand is that we don't have the arrow for Snapshot. But we could also just draw into the arrow, so I guess we could potentially get an arrow off the top here. All right, Lightning Press is acceptable. Let's go ahead and play out the Flittering, I think. Which we can functionally kind of pump to 7. So you have 1 reduce here. The question is, do they have the backup? All right, looks like not, so they're going to drop to 3. And let's go ahead and just weave lightnings to buff up our snapshot here, and then we can finish on the, we can like activate the bow 1 more time. Oh no, we can't. Oh, I messed up. No, this is still fine because we can bolt and boots here. I guess what I should have ended up doing was not when should I have like played that weave lightning? I guess it's like the awkward part. It's interesting here. So I guess we still do this, I think. just so that we're not like letting them play out the Deathly. Although it's not that bad if they play out the Deathly because they're only getting in for 7 total, I believe. I think this is probably like the most annoying thing we can do because they're also gonna be like end up taking blood death from the frostbites. All right, so I think I played this game a little bit sloppy. That's fine. Again, we're learning. But I maybe forgot about the frostbites here. So the frostbites do still work from banish, so they're gonna end up taking the blood debt here. All right, so let's go ahead and Death Dealer. I think we're gonna load the Swift Shot here and just pitch the Arc Bending away just to like get as much pressure in as possible. Right, double Discharge will do it, so let's go ahead and follow up with the Swift Shot here. So we're gonna go 4 into 10, which is kind of nasty. Again, the damage this deck can like kind of put out on a 4-card hand is kind of disgusting. Like 4-card 14 is like very, very good. So this will basically demand all the other cards from hand plus react, I think. Again, definitely could have played this game, I think, a little bit better. Like we had some equipment that I think we used maybe a little bit lacklusterly, but still fine. Is lacklusterly a word? I'll probably make it a word for this game. So they could still technically stay alive here if their hand is like very, very specific. That being said, we did see the 2 red reduces, so it'd have to be like Sigil of Suffering or something like that. But oh, okay, they did have the Sigil of Suffering, but just two blocks to kind of back it up. So yeah, barely kind of like eke that game out. But again, this is kind of like what the deck does. You kind of like will sometimes have those really weird hands where you kind of have to like figure out like how am I supposed to convert this hand. But then you'll just have hands like this where it's like a little bit kind of like cleaner, I guess, to kind of string together. I think what this game is teaching me is like that maybe I need to be a little bit more aggressive with my equipment and not try to like hold on to it a bit and maybe just try to like convert the hand as best as I can as fast as possible, you know. But yeah, pretty good learning game at least for me. Let's see if we can keep getting a couple more. All right, playing against a Gravy. A lot of people like Gravy on Talishar. Coming from someone who like plays Terra, I just like don't see how the deck is viable. But I feel like this actually might be like kind of a tougher matchup for us. So what do I want into Gravy? I don't think they're like much of a blocking deck. So I think what I kind of want to do is maybe lean a little bit aggressive is my kind of guess. Like maybe we kind of just bring in like the blue winter spites, the laces, and the Skizzics, and then not bother with like a bunch of the other kind of resource stuff. I think blue winter spite is just like mostly main deck. We could also consider the take covers, just like stave off a little bit of damage, but I think I kind of like let's try something like this and see how it goes. Oh, I forgot Twine was in this deck, and Twine is just like one of the, like the easiest cards I feel like to kind of get the value out of. This deck feels like very, very playable. Like this is one of probably like if I wasn't playing Terra, it's probably like one of my favorite like non-fatigue Sage decks right now. It just feels kind of like it has like the Zen thing of just like you're kind of trying to figure out how to make the most of a bunch of weird random cards. Which is kind of one of my favorite parts about just like Zen and some of the other decks I kind of play. Getting rid of a Flying High, so it means they probably don't have an ally here. Or if they do have an ally, then it's going to be on the next, like playing it out from hand. Let's actually block with the blue snapshot here, just because I might need this for fusing purposes next turn. I think it's reasonable to try to hold on to it. Yeah, we're not guaranteed to draw lightning off the top, so we do have to be a little bit careful. Thinking in a vacuum, obviously, it's like better to hold on to the snapshot, but given the context of our hand, I think holding the guaranteed lightning is maybe worth it. All right, it looks like they're going to set up a lot of gold here. Very cool. So given that they're attacking Inferno 2, I guess we maybe have to give up the Entwine here. It's a little awkward. I think not leaking damage against Gravy is probably reasonable. Again, they're not really like probably a fatigue deck is my guess. Okay, and they are going to swing in here. I think we'll give them maybe just the 1 point of damage, or maybe we'll go and just block at the boots because Gravy doesn't have any real on hits. I forgot how crazy the new helmet is. So they basically get temper 2 on helmet plus trench plus some other stuff. So maybe they are doing some like fatigue kind of gravy stuff. Very, very cool. But yeah, we'll go ahead and hold on to the red snapshot because I think it's pretty reasonable. We're gonna get it off here. Okay, so this is actually a really good snapshot hand, I think. So let's go ahead and load the red snapshot. I don't think we're gonna bother killing the Oyston here because we need to make them like get the value out of it. I don't really want to just give them like a third gold and like waste a bunch of damage. Okay, so we can chain back-to-back snapshots, which is really, really good. The only issue is finding how we're gonna play the Skizik. So we'll attack Gravy. We'll use, I guess, with the Heaven's Claw. Let's try to chain together some damage here. So I assume most people know about the snapshot kind of like combo in this deck, but basically like snapshot lets you functionally refresh your action point because Death Dealer has go again, you can activate it as an instant, blah blah blah, and then functionally gives your snapshot go again, and then also like draws you an extra card, which is pretty sick. Definitely one of the kind of the cooler combos. I'm hoping that this maybe ends up buying a card from hand here. Okay, seems good. And they'll also end up giving us the Merkmeyer Helm, or Merkhellier Helm. Interesting. So I think here, let's go ahead and just throw the Skizik at them, try to get another 3 points of damage. Then we get Heaven's Claw in Arsenal, which is like whatever, but we do get to at least flip it over with Lexi, so we can also offset the cost with like Patch the Hole or something like that. So we have a lot of options that we can maybe try to make use of this Heaven's Claw. Based on this hand, we can actually like do both. We can like Lexi it, return it to hand, give something go again, and then just like use it for pitch or something. I think that seems pretty reasonable on this next hand. Definitely depends a bit on what they end up kind of doing here. So they're running Scrub the deck, which is also fascinating. So maybe they're trying to do like some fatigue gravy thing. Kind of funny. Like the card's not really even a fatigue card because you're like basically going even on fatigue, right? But it is at least kind of funny. All right, Flying High coming in. And what is the follow-up here? All right, oh, maybe they're just giving the next deck go again so they can like make use of both the Rigger and the Oyston here. Seems reasonable. And maybe there is some consideration to like trying to clear the allies. I think it's like honestly just kind of fine to take it here. We're going to drop to 11, but I'm hoping that we're going to be able to try to pressure their life total pretty significantly next turn. So I think what I want to do is start by Lexing, and then we're going to patch the hole, return this to hand. And then what we can do is we can pitch this to Death Dealer, load in. I'm going to load in here. Maybe like load in the Bolton shot? Maybe I didn't think this through all the way. Oh no, we still have like go again for something, right? So we just have to go against Lightning Surge first, I think, right? Okay, I think I'm figuring it out. So we Lightning Surge this, give this go again at Gravy. Then we can Bolton shot. Or no, we shouldn't have Bolton shot it, right? Or hold on. Sorry. I might need to actually hold on. I need to revert this. I think I need to. So I do this. Doing the same thing as before. But I think what I actually need to do is load the Swift Shot here. So Lexi, load the Swift Shot, I believe. Okay, I think that makes more sense. Sorry, still getting used to this deck. I guess technically we like didn't know we were drawing the flittering, but I think it's always worse to Arsenal the Bolton shot there. So doing a little content creator cheating, that's fine. Let's go ahead and then send that gravy. So I think what we're supposed to do here is like load the bolt and shot, give it the go again, and then like end on the winter's bite, I think, or something like that. Now bracers will give the bolt and shot +1, which will also give it go again. So I think maybe what we're trying to do is like use the bracers in conjunction with the bolt and shot if we kind of get the opportunity. At least that kind of makes a bit of sense to me. It looks like they're maybe just gonna compass here. So they will probably have to give us a card here. Oh, it looks like they're playing the new Gravy D-React. So while it's defending, it's put into your graveyard from the arena, turn it face down. Okay, interesting. Very, very cool Gravy card. That actually seemed to like come up a ton in terms of like seeing people kind of like actually play it. But I think here what we're gonna do is just Winter's Bite to try to mess up the rest of their hand. Go ahead and target them, Arsenal the Flittering, and then we can give the Flittering go again next turn, which is also kind of nice. So even if they do manage to like chain together like a double ally swing, I think we should still be kind of in okay shape. Looks like they do hit the ally off the top, which will get that go again pretty good. Right, into the Oyston swing. We're gonna drop to 4 here, but I think we should be able to convert this next hand pretty well. It's another one of those hands I think is a little bit of a puzzle. Start by Lexing, so because we have to get this Flittering out of Arsenal. So I think we're obligated to do this. I guess we can go ahead and crack the Blossom, I think, as well. It's most likely I think we're going to be playing it. So I have to imagine we probably end up blowing them up here. Just kind of a question mostly of how. Oh, we could have technically threatened lethal with the Lightning Press there. But Lightning Press is actually kind of important for fusing, so maybe we didn't have to. So I think we want to do the Frazzle here or the Snapshot. I'm not sure which is technically better. I think maybe it's the Frazzle because we can like give it the press. Or we could also just load the Bolt and Shot first. But that also requires... Maybe it is still just Snapshot. Do you want to like reload the Bolt and Shot, I think, at some point? Huh. Might still be like playing this deck. Like this deck has like a lot of weird decision points, and the sequencing is like non-obvious to me. Or it's at least like kind of non-intuitive. And now, again, I'm still not gonna show the Lightning Press. I guess we could potentially play the Lightning Press here. You show the Bolt and Shot. All right, we draw the Arc Bending. So Lightning Press will potentially represent lethal. I guess we might as well try to go for. Like make them have some react here to stay alive. Okay. Seems like maybe just didn't have react and I was maybe just like playing around it weird. But yeah, I think this deck, like this deck has so many like weird hands where it's like, okay, I have a hand of cards. How do I like manage to play all these cards? And I think the answer sometimes is like you don't, or you have to like pop equipment to like use it. That's kind of like the most challenging part about this deck is just like how do you use your equipment to actually like smooth out your draw, I guess. But we've been doing pretty well with this deck. I think we've won like 3 or 4 in a row at this point, which is pretty good. So I think this deck has you know, a lot of actually like really good consistency to it, a lot of like power to it, which is really nice. But yeah, let's continue, maybe get like 1 or 2 more. All right, playing against a new, so I'm assuming this is probably like the Tau new list. Debating if we even want to take covers. I kind of almost feel like we should kind of treat this as like a more defensive matchup and just set up like a combo kill. But maybe that's like too excessive. Maybe we do like maybe we do something like this. Let's actually see if there's like any not really like a disruptive board, I guess. I think we'll try something maybe like this. I don't know if we have to like necessarily set up the combo kill on them. We'll try this and see how it goes. Alright, Graven Walkers. While this is in your graveyard, start your turn, you may destroy 2 silvers you control if you do equip this. Okay, interesting. They're running that over Stiletto is kind of interesting. So it seems like they maybe are like more fatigue oriented. I think in that case, let's go ahead and just take a little bit of damage here. Could deny the go again here, but I think I want to see what they're doing first before committing to like overblocking there. So let's give them, I think, 2 cards here on the Double Trouble. Maybe just give them the Arc Bending and the Frazzle. Right, and then following up with the Excessive Bloodshed. So this is the card that I think is trying to banish reds off the top. Okay, so I think we probably do just have to end up blocking this out. They have a pump, so be it. Yeah, it seems like they well and thoroughly kind of stripped our hand there. Now this hand, what are we trying to do with this one? I guess we're pitching these snapshots for later. Let's go ahead and save the go for the Swift Shot here. And then we can it's kind of awkward here. Like Swift Shot, load, snapshot, use. Probably worth it. Again, the more like disruptive matchups I think are a little challenging for this deck just because the armor is so low. And like the risk of fatigue I think is definitely like pretty high. Alright, so now we bullseye, I think here. Load the snapshot. Fuse. Refresh our bow and then load in the bolt and shot here. I think that seems good, at least from a damage perspective, but from like the macro trying to kill them perspective, I'm not sure how good this actually is. It seems like let's try to mark us here. Okay. Go ahead and load in that bolt and shot. And I think we did convert this hand, I'd say, pretty well, because we're going to be at least sending another 7 kind of on the back. So the only issue is getting them to a point where we can kind of kill them before we fatigue. So like maybe we were still supposed to like bring in the epots for this matchup. I don't know. It also seems like they're playing like a little bit of kind of like different lists, running like the new Graven Walkers over like Stilettos and stuff. Should be interesting. All right, so hoping to connect for like 4 or 7 here, ideally. All right, I'll go ahead and try to at least press this. So opponent keeping a 3-card hand. Okay, so they do have the D-React here. That's fine. All right, we'll go ahead and just decline the load and then Arsenal pass. Love to see the dagger poke, because we're almost certainly not blocking here. And they do have the excessive blood loss to follow up, though. Yeah, this card is scary. They can basically like banish the top card, do it twice. This card is definitely like kind of terrifying. So we go to 25 cards in deck, and we do have to be very concerned about fatigue. But I think we do just have to like take the tempo here and try to like We have to like try to kill them, I think, here more than anything. Okay, so they had the Swift Shot and the Lightning Surge, and they also do get to buy back the boots here. It's a very, very good turn from them. So what are we doing on our turn? We can Lexi, play out the Weave Lightning, clear the arsenal. And I think we're just coming in with the Flittering. Just so we get the kind of 7 going here. That seems reasonable. We'll fuse the Snapshot with the Lightning Surge, pitching the Heaven's Claw. And I want to just try to get in as much damage here as we possibly can. But yeah, the excessive blood loss is definitely kind of a powerhouse in this deck. Go ahead and Snapshot, load. All right, Dazzling Crescendo I think is a good one. That means we're going to get basically another 4 go in here plus the card draw. So real solid. I mean, this is the kind of hand we need, I think, to kind of try to get our bits of damage in. So let's go ahead and refresh the go again. Load Dazzling. Oh yeah. I think this hand is looking pretty nasty. You go 4 go again into 4 go again into Arsenal, the Bolton Shot here. Get a little bit of extra chip in over here. So put them to 11. We get full tempo. But we are a couple of cards down in deck, so it's definitely going to be on us to kind of like try to convert these hands super well. All right, they buy back their boots, which is what they're there for. So getting another 2 block is definitely pretty sick for them. And how do we best want to use this hand? So I'd patch the hole this back if we wanted to. That's option 1. Option 2 is we can twine. I guess let's start by entwining and just kind of see what they end up doing. We do still have 1 more Lightning Press in the deck, and we also have, I think, another Electrify. We can hopefully kind of combo those 2 together. All right, I think Oasis is on the whole positive for us, as it's only blocking functionally 5 here. Definitely efficient in terms of at least the kind of breakpoints, though. All right, so now we now patch. This patch Death Dealer. I think we're pitching the Bolton Shot. This is definitely a little bit awkward, it feels like. Pitch the Bolton Shot, load the Frazzle. And then what do we do here? I guess we can like Winter's Bite, targeting the opponent. And then just try to connect with the Frazzle, maybe like Arsenal the Flittering here. I think that's at least the line I saw. But not 100% sure how good this actually is. Alright, so we got through the boots at least, but again, the challenge is going to be pushing through the remaining kind of portion of the deck. Okay, so what is the next plan here? So we can Lexi, turn this over, play the Skizzik from hand. The only issue is we need to like clear this out of Arsenal, which is our kind of like #1 priority, right? The alternative, the next Lightning Realm, so we have to fuse it to give it go again. So I think in this case, we just have to give the Glittering go again. Which is fine, I think. Maybe we're going to end up like pitching the Skizzik here to Snapshot. Or actually, we should probably, hold on, thinking about this more. Probably actually play the Weave Lightning first, I think. Or no, sorry, I don't think I actually want to do that. So we Flittering. I think we're just Flittering. Yeah. I think we need this for fusing, right? Then we can like pitch the Skizzik. Load Death Dealer on the Snapshot. Then do like Lace. Do we actually want to load the Arc Bending now? I think that's actually value. think we load the arc bending, pitch whatever card we draw, maybe end up like arsenaling the Weave Lightning or playing it. Kinda awkward. Sure, this is fine, I think. Also wondering if I'm like fatiguing myself here, which is definitely possible. All right, Electrify is definitely one of our big hits though. So we get one last card out of hand, and then we get to chip in two, set up another 5-card hand. I think we can maybe start to get through there. That being said, we are running out of cards very, very fast, so we have to definitely be a little bit careful. All right, and this hand has to do it, right? I imagine. So I don't think we can afford to pitch away our lightning card here. So I think we have to pitch away the other snapshot. So that I think is a-okay here. So we'll activate Lexi, pitch the snapshot. All right, we draw the entwine, which is great. Then I think we're gonna just go ahead and Death Dealer now, right? No real sense in not doing it. Skizzik, I think, is also a really good draw. So let's go ahead and now Skizzik with Go again, I believe. Skizzik with Go again, Entwine, Lace, Snapshot, and then just like not actually like end up using Snapshot ability, Arsenal this. I think that's the line. And we did connect with the Electrify there, which is huge for us, I think. Getting the extra 3 points of value there, I think, is really, really good. So this should buy the remaining cards from hand and maybe also chip in like one over. I think it's a really big deal for us. If they have like a no block in hand, like a Chi or something, that could be pretty good. Okay, they had the immovable, but it looks like they maybe just didn't have the blue to actually resolve it. So we got through the Fatigue New, which is something I was a little bit worried about with this deck, just because I knew like the new card Excessive Blood Loss I think is really, really powerful. And they also just have like a lot of like disruptive effects like the inducements, the Mark of the Black Widow. But I think if new like kind of stumbles or they're just trying to like play a little bit too kind of like passively and not like disrupt us, I think like us being able to like set up 5-card hands means that we're just like gonna get chip damage in somewhere, right? Which I think makes this deck really, really powerful. And I think they're not like Guardian, right, where you can't run like the 4 blocks. They have to run almost exclusively 3 blocks and then like the generics and stuff, which I think are a little bit less good. But anyways, I think a really solid performance from this deck. I think this is just definitely a very, very solid list. I didn't really have to like put a ton of thought into it other than like just some awkward draws that you have to like kind of sequence. But it feels like there's like a lot of power in this list and just like a lot of like aggression as well as like kind of like anti-fatigue potential and also just like the ability to kind of like race different aggro decks, which I think makes it really cool. But yeah, I think that'll be the last game. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. All right, well, that was Silver Age Lexi. So hope you all enjoyed. Again, this deck I think is really, really powerful and I think well positioned in the current Sage meta. It just feels like one of those decks that can definitely beat Fatigue, can race like Briar. I think that you'll have a couple like tougher matchups into the more like disruptive decks, or the decks where you have to like use like your armor super well and stuff like that. But I think on the whole, this deck is just very, very powerful. And I think it's also probably like one of the more fun decks in Silver Age. So encourage you all to give it a shot. And again, don't forget to check out the Silver Age kind of spotlight article, which I think explains a lot of the card choices a little bit more in depth than I'm able to here. So I think that this article is really, really well put together. So again, shout out to Yuki for doing a really great job on this article. I think it's very, very good. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.